Let me ask you this, Josh. What makes pulse energy technology and your product stand apart from your competitors? Because there are a few other companies out there, and I just want to make sure that I understand the differences between your company and the others that are out there in the high-powered arena.
Sure. I would imagine that this is a question for most people when they're first starting to explore PEMF therapy and try to find out who's the best, why is this better, why is it pricier, and it's a common question. So I will try for the people out there to be as objective as possible, because it's very easy for me to be a subjective 7-year-old child and stomp my feet and say, mine's better than yours. And I recognize that that's not what we're looking for, so I want to try to be as objective as possible. First and foremost, the most important thing that people should be sort of looking for and recognizing is the people and the group behind the technology. Are they dealing with a multi-level marketing sort of group? Are they dealing with a distributor who is the sub-distributor of this distributor? Or are they dealing directly with the manufacturer? We are the only company that seems to sell our device like other medical products are. We have distribution network and channel that people can buy direct through the distributor, or they can buy direct from the factory. We handle all of our maintenance, all of our repairs, all of our servicing, all of the technical issues. We don't sub it out or farm it out. So when you pick up the phone and call any phone number related to Pulse Energy, it rings back at the headquarters. I don't believe that any of the other people out there do that, and it's one thing if this is a $5 product and there's not somebody behind the phone that rings when there's a problem. It's another problem when it's a $20,000 product and there's nobody there to help you. It's part of the other thing that I think that keeps us as stand apart as possible is the ISO 1345 certification. We are the first and only North American manufacturer of the technology to achieve the ISO certification, and it's significant in a couple fold. What it means is that we have independently third party been verified, audited to, and certified that we manufacture our products at a medical quality level. Okay, now what does that mean to the person sitting at home? Here's how I explain it to most people is if my grandmother, who is 97, and uses a medical product and God forbid something bad happens to her, the company that makes that product better be able to trace back the parts or the components or the elements of their manufacturing process that caused this problem. Because if they can't, then there could be potentially be other issues out in the field. And the second half of that is the quality. I don't think that, and being objective as possible, I can only go by auditing and audit results. We have our audit results publishable, published on the internet. We have passed all of our audits with flying colors, and what that means is quality level is as high as you can get. We have detailed records and track our entire manufacturing process from purchase to 7 years post-purchase. I think this is a real big way of saying, as objective as possible, we give the personal attention to each and every customer, whether they have bought the machine or the product from us yesterday or 5 years from now. We sort of do it, because it is a medical device requirement and the other people out there should be, but they aren't. But B, it is sort of who we are in terms of what we hang our hat on. We hang our hat on the customer service aspect. It is our lifeblood, it is our reputation, and we sort of feel that the direct contact, not doing the multi-level marketing, being the sole manufacturer, not buying from different parts or components in different parts of the world, we think that sort of as objectively as possible sort of sets us apart from the competitors.
Yeah, and that's very important. You certainly want to be around a company that's going to be able to take care of the needs of the client for the lifespan of the machine. That's very powerful. Can you tell me a little bit more about the specifics of the competition, like, the story of the Magnapulse and the PEMF 100, Magnaway, the IMRS 2000, PMG 33. There's a whole host of companies out there, PEMF 4000, PEMF 8000, which is a new device. Can you kind of go through those and give me some historical perspective?
Yeah, absolutely. So the first thing that I should point out is that there are two real classes or categories of PEMF devices. There's high power and there's low power. And the high power devices, my technology and some of the other competitors that we have out there, while we are classified as PEMF therapy, PEMF is really a secondary function of the technology. The main function is cellular magnetic resonance, okay? And the other technologies, the lower level ones, don't do that. And the reason I'm pointing that out is that we don't even view the lower level technologies as a competitor at all. We view them as apples to grapes, or apples to oranges, or not even the same type of fruit, apples to Tonka trucks, because it is so vastly different and uniquely different. But the marketing that's been out on the internet, they're trying to sort of compare themselves to ours, and it's the comparison of a Porsche and a roller skate. So I can tell you firsthand that with some of the devices, like you mentioned, the IMRS 2000, the Beamer, any of these low-level devices that are mats, we don't view them as a competitor at all, frankly, because they don't do anything that we do. And you can't really feel them, you can't really sense them. They're not designed to be used in the same way that ours are designed for. It just happens to have 4 similar letters, the PEMF, and there's an acronym behind it. I can tell you that we have a chunk of our practitioners that own both of the technologies, and we'll tell this to you as well. I've tried everything under the sun, so I'm speaking from a fairly knowledgeable standpoint. And further to that, just with the IMRS 2000, before 2008, nobody had really heard of this device in North America. It wasn't as big and as popular. And the reason I bring that up is I got a phone call and then an email inquiry into the website from a guy who is a doctorate. He has a doctorate in physics that had basically been trying to set up a marketing program through the internet. This is sort of the beginning of the SEO marketing ideas and things like that. And what he wanted to do is he wanted to write a review site on PEMF therapy devices. And then he wanted to rate ours #1 as the best recommended one and sell it from his website. So essentially he'd be using his sort of, I'm Dr. So-and-so, and I will review your device, say it's the best, and then people can purchase it through the internet. And that was his model. He had never even tried the technology, and essentially when I had my first discussions with him, he said, yeah, well, so what you have to do is you send me a free device, you give me 50% margin, you give me all these things, and then I'll write this review. And I had a problem with it for a few reasons. Typically, we don't give away free devices to people because most of our customers, this is an expensive purchase. They've worked hard, and it's taken them time to get to the point to be able to afford something like this. So giving one free to a stranger, we weren't too keen on that. And he understood, and he basically said, okay, that's fine, I'll find somebody else. And he went around and he asked a couple of the other high-powered manufacturers, and I know this because competitors are not, people in the industry, and word got around it that this guy was looking to create this website. And at the time, nobody was really interested in giving this gentleman a site. 2009, there is the first PEMF review sites by a guy by the name of Dr. Bryant Myers. And all of a sudden, the IMRS 2000, this low-level mat, is the #1 rated PEMF device, and he's written this book and done all of this research and spent all of this money, blah, blah, blah. But yet, this was the same guy that contacted myself and 3 other manufacturers only 3 or 4 months later, trying to do and pursue the same thing with us. Initially when he did his reviews, he rated us, I forget where we were rated, 3rd or 4th or 2nd or whatever, and I sent him a letter saying, you've rated us and put out here on the internet in the public domain all of these things about our technology, but yet you've never tried it. This is misleading advertising, this is false advertising, and so forth. You can't do this. And he basically sent me a letter saying, well, you had your opportunity to have me on your team, and now you don't. So we sent him an attorney's letter. We sent him a cease and desist letter saying that we have now given him the opportunity to sort of remove the negative information and the sort of negatory promotion about us in a nice way. Here is our legal letter to let you know you can't be doing what you're doing. And that, now, since then, this gentleman's website has changed, and when you go on the internet now, you can click and find everywhere the IMRS 2000 review, and click on it and read this gentleman's review of all the technologies. And I can tell you firsthand, he's reviewed our technology #1, but he's never tried this device. He has not tried the 2 other high-power technology devices, as far as I know. And this is sort of what I found to be frustrating for the community out there. Is this is a multi-level marketing person that is broadcasting the word about PEMF therapy and trying to compete against us. But the fact is this guy is really just a guy that's trying to sell his own product.
Okay. Can you expand a little bit more on the PEMF 4000? And I believe they come out with a new product on the PEMF 8000. It seems like they're charging a very low price for a high-powered device. And if you could kind of shed some light on that, certainly appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a good. I figure this is a good one to talk about next, and at the end we can talk about the Magna Wave, Magna Pulse, Magna this, that, and the other. With the PEMF 4000. This is a gentleman that sort of the story that I know about the PEMF 4000 is several years ago. This would be 2010. There was an ad on the internet from a guy that was here in California offering to service any of the existing PEMF therapy devices. I found it. He'd offer service ours or any sort of the competitors' devices out there. And from my understanding, that's what he was doing. And he was servicing a couple of the PEMF 100 devices. And then one day, a new website popped up called the PEMF 4000. And when you look at the pictures of this machine, it is literally an exact copy of the PEMF 100 device, except had a little bit lower level components, was a little bit less expensive in terms of construction and put together. I could see, just being a manufacturer myself, oh, okay, they went the cheap route and made this device. And right away I started doing some research on who is this guy that's doing the device, and I found this gentleman by the name of Bruce Gerliter was all over the ripoffreport.com for 3 or 4 other products that he had created over the years that he had brought to market. So first, as a medical device manufacturer, somebody that has put my heart, my soul, and my entire checkbook into this technology to sort of develop it, bring it to the forefront, get a lot of the certifications, and stay along the legal aspect. It was pretty upsetting, because here's a guy that you can see within the first week he's going to bypass all of the rules, all of the guidelines, all the things that us as manufacturers should be doing, so he could try to make a quick buck. So it was fairly frustrating. But if there's anything that I've learned is in this technology, sort of karma comes back at you and gets at you. So this gentleman brought his device out to the market, and he's 50% less than all of the other technologies out there. He was selling it for a $20,000 device, selling it for $10,000. And I got a lot of questions from people, well, how can he get away with that? How can he do that? And it's a couple-fold. He used much cheaper components on the insides of the machine than everybody else out there. We spent a lot of time, I can tell you for ourselves personally, finding, documenting, and testing the right high-power components, because this is it's a high-voltage device, so the equipment has to last, but B, it's an expensive product. And we knew when he came to market at that price, he had to have basically gotten the cheap components. And the second aspect is we knew that he was not following any of the regulatory rules or regulations or aspects by charging that price, because he wasn't doing any of the documentation that came along with it, any of the quality assurance programs, any of the testing, any of the regulatory steps, because that's why there is more of a cost to our product or some of the higher-end, high-powered ones, because there's a letter of a law that you have to follow, and good or bad, there's a cost to it, and we knew there had to be something that was going on here. And our suspicions were confirmed, because even within the first year of this gentleman sort of bringing his machine to market, he was having multiple breakdowns. His devices were failing, and we were getting reports and reports of people that had thought they were saving $10,000 by buying his product, and 4 months later had a pile of components that wouldn't even plug into the wall and operate any further. And what this gentleman did is he used a lot of the powers of the internet to sort of, I don't know what the word is unintegritously explain why his technology was better, even though it's not true. And he was putting out there, promoting things like their pulses faster, so it gets into the cells faster and leaves more energy, which is about the worst in terms of science that you can get, because it's the counterintuitive of the technology. Anybody that's used the machine knows that a slower pulse is a stronger and deeper pulse, which means it's going to go further, and a faster, quicker pulse is a less intense a field that doesn't go as deep into the cells. But this gentleman sort of figured out a way to come up with a couple words and phrases and things to promote the heck out of what he was doing and sell his technology. I have since learned that maybe about 3 months ago, he had a falling out with some of the people that were selling his product. He drained his company's bank accounts and have now moved overseas somewhere, and the PEMF 4000 is no longer in existence. They don't have a company, and sort of he's left the country and left all the people working for him holding the bag. Out of the ashes of that has a new product that has come out, and it's known as the Phoenix 8000, the PEMF 8000. It's a knockoff of a knockoff of a knockoff of a knockoff, if you will. And this technology is not a new technology. It's an actual very old version of our first technology that we found to be ineffective through our testing, and we abandoned and moved to something else. Now, typically, this is the part where somebody would jump in and say, well, Josh, how do you know about that? And the reason I know about that is this gentleman that makes the PEMF 8000 used to work for us on a contract basis. This is a gentleman that has since received a cease and desist attorney's letter from us from last year. The company is called ePulse Magnetics. And this gentleman took a much older version of the technology that he had experienced when he worked with us on a contract basis 7 years ago, and he tried to come up with his own little box to put around it. And God love people. The karma is a wonderful thing, because I try not to go out and put people down and create a negative environment. I sort of let the universe sort of take care of what's going to happen. And we have found in independent testing that the technology they have is going to fail. It's just a matter of time. The only concern we have is the safety aspect for the end user, because these units are clearly manufactured by a couple guys in a garage and a dirt floor. There's no serious manufacturing or quality process behind it. And again, we can say this all objectively because we've seen the lab data, we've seen the tests, we know what's inside their boxes.
Interesting. Can you expound a little bit on the MagnaPulse, the PEMF 400, MagnaWave, and those other machines?
Yep. So in high-powered PEMF therapy, it's a huge universe. We've sold devices in Australia, New Zealand, Dubai, in the Netherlands, in Switzerland, in the UK, all over. But it's a very small community, and the manufacturers know each other and have known each other for years. So there's a story behind our competitors, so to speak, and how we know their technology. Our biggest competitor is a gentleman that makes one machine that is rebranded through multi-level marketing channels. The first name of the device was the MagnaPulse, and now it's referred to a whole bunch of different names. The Delta Pulse, the PEMF 100, or the PEMF 120, the PMT 1000, the Ohm Pulse, the MagnaWave, the Ohm Pulsar, the Pulse. There's a whole bunch of derivatives. The Helomed in Europe. It's all the same box made by the same guy. And we know him personally. I've known him for a very long time, and I'll give you the story behind him. When we first started, going back to my story earlier, when we first started making our own device before my mentor had passed away, my mentor brought on a friend of his that had been coming to the clinic for treatments for about a year to come help us source parts. Now, this gentleman, one of the things that he did was he put together stereo systems for people. As an example, for my home, I could go to the Bose store and buy some speakers, or I could hire an independent professional to come in and literally go inside of the walls and install speaker systems in a jacuzzi and a high-end speaker system. This gentleman specialized in stuff like that. So Chuck brought him on as a way to help us source parts from Europe or from China initially to bring down the cost of this $60,000 original version of the technology. And this was a gentleman that wasn't an expert in the technology or wasn't an engineer by any means. He was a guy that liked the technology, was a big fan. This gentleman, Chuck, had me take him to a couple trade shows and train him how to use the technology and show people how to experience it and whatnot. And when Chuck had his heart attack and he passed away, it was dramatically bad for all of us involved because, like I said, we were emotionally connected to him. And Chuck's friend, this gentleman by the name of Michael Davis, offered to help myself and my former business partner, Robert, who helped invent this machine, helped us to get going. So he offered to help us pay for wires so we could make replacement cables. He offered to help us get this information, to get that information. Well, we didn't realize at the time Michael had decided once Chuck passed away, he was going to make his own machine. He knew that we had already developed a prototype. He knew that we had already gone down the road with this project. But as he told us later, well, the market's big enough for the both of us, so I'll do my thing and you guys do your thing. And essentially what happened is Michael had a schematic copy of the PAPIMI to source parts from a while back when Chuck passed away. And when Chuck passed away, he took those schematics, got all the information, shrunk it down, and put it into a box, and that is essentially how he made the MagnaPulse, which is now the PEMF 100, which is the so forth and so forth. So not only are we very familiar with how his technology works and is engineered, we also know the major limits with it and why it is not as effective as ours. Again, I try to be as objective as possible. I've seen the lab reports. When he went in and he made his MagnaPulse or his Magna Wave, his Magna blah blah blah, to make it smaller, he actually shrunk his signal. So that's why their machine feels different. There's more of a jerk and less of a, ooh, goes right to the spot. And that's why it is less effective, because the goal was cheap, 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 small, 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 which they succeeded in doing. But the one thing they didn't look into is the engineering aspect of how do we keep these fantastic results and improve them. And that's what we did with ours. So you may look at our machine and their machine and the boxes may look similar, but within the first 2 to 3 seconds of feeling the pulse of the machine, you know the difference with ours. And that is, again, because there was some serious engineering that went behind ours, not, I guess, capitalizing on an opportunity like Michael did.
Okay. That really clears things up, because there's, like I said, this technology is out there, and, just to understand, what separates you from the, other people that are in the marketplace, and, you really cleared that up for me, and I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you might want to add?
I just
very helpful.
Yeah, I just want to say it's certainly not about mudslinging. It's about telling the truth and nothing but. What's different with us is we have the protocols, and when we say we have the protocols, we didn't sit down one day and figure out how to use the machine by writing it down and guessing. Even before I was involved, my mentor and other people developed 4 years worth of clinical trials where they were able to develop protocols that we have now brought with our technology. So the way that you use the machine, we provide the teachings, we provide the trainings. There's these little things that are critical with this technology that we sort of do that nobody else does, and I think you can gather that by the emotions coming out of me when speaking, but I think in hearing some of the little and subtle details that we do versus the others. And the biggest thing I bring up is the power cord. We spend $12 more than everybody else out there to give you a more expensive power cord. Well, why? It's just a power cord. Because if you don't have the right power cord, you could potentially damage the electrical circuits in the building that you're operating the machine in, and we don't want you to have to worry about that. So I know it sounds funny, $12, it's a big deal to us because we don't want that bad reputation, and that is sort of us going the extra mile.
Great. That is really helpful, and I can't appreciate you more than you taking your time to talk to me, and hopefully we can share this technology across the world.
Sounds good, Jack. Thanks again for your time.